This week's Duncan Disorderly examines the war that's going on daily in Auckland's suburbs. Duncan, you start your column off by saying that you're starting to hate Auckland. Why?
Yeah, it's a pretty strong start. Because it's changing so quickly, and it's. I understand that change is inevitable in any society. It's what happens. You got to roll with the punches. But I'm seeing change that's dumb. I'm seeing heritage, character suburbs being turned into slums. And it's happening not just at one house across the road. It's happening at houses all around the different suburbs that I travel to and from. Work in and go through. It's vast and it's fast. And what are we turning it into? These were places that were meant to be along the major railway lines, the bus routes. These were places that was meant to be the medium density across where the jobs are and where the transport is. But they failed in that, so they took their idea to the suburbs instead. And I think we've got a ticking time bomb and a disaster on our hands. We had the leaky buildings. You watch this in 30 years. What we created now, what will it look like in 30 years? I think we've got a problem.
Now, you're talking about the townhouses that are springing up everywhere and how ugly they all are. What's the solution? Because we do need more housing in Auckland.
We do, and we're building it, although Auckland contracted last year. So the stats and the facts are that the population decreased in Auckland for the first time in a very long time. And there aren't people flowing into Auckland like they thought that we're going to. So do we have a housing crisis in numbers, or do we have an affordability crisis? I wonder, and if you talk to some of the other experts in this area who I've spoken to, I wonder if we've got an affordability crisis, which you're seeing now coming back. I think probably 20%, 10, 15, 20% reduction already in prices with more to go. I tend to think that the affordability is being looked at right now with the movements. The movements are affordability movements. How many houses are we going to build in these suburbs? No one really knows. See, they've changed the rules, but no one's done any forward planning on how many are needed to avert a crisis. No one knows how many houses are going to be built in the suburbs. I think it's all guesswork. And no one knows whether it's the solution or not. In the meantime, it's going to ruin the suburbs. No car parks.
Yes, it is part of the problem, not having car parks with these townhouses. The reason that they did that, I suppose, was because they want to push people onto public transport, but Auckland just doesn't have that public transport network.
You make a very good point. It's fine to push people onto other networks if the networks are available, but don't pull the rug from under them and then say, right, get to work. No wonder people are working from home. How are you going to get to work in an electric car when they start at 50 grand? So it's unaffordable for New Zealanders, especially now, more than ever. You are 2K from the train station and you're expected to walk every day, but you have never walked to the train station 2K. So how do you suddenly change your life like that? I think there are lots of assumptions being made by the government that people can't meet. Yeah, I honestly think that I hope I'm around in 30 years' time to be able to say, do you see what I was talking about? And some of the style, the lack of style, and I don't mean to come across as a NIMBY tosser, because that's hopefully not what I am. I'm just someone who's concerned about the city and concerned about the character of this place, and being turned on its head to become nothing more than sort of a collection of boxes that somehow no one linked and tried to make nice. And what are we left with? What sort of families are going to be in there in 30 years' time? What sort of quality of life will there be? Will they last the distance, or will they be tomorrow's slums? I think we're building the slums.
What should politicians do about this?
Well, I think they rushed at this legislation because for years they couldn't come up with a solution. They needed to build fast. So they built fast after years and years of protections. We protected everything. We protected snails, we protected trees, we walked and worked around them. And now suddenly we've gone from years and years of that approach, which was expensive and slow, to saying, right, drop all your clothes, or we're going in. There still must be some standards, but apparently not. At 3 levels high, with 3 houses in a row, that's a screen. That's regarded as a 5-metre screen. Now, if you just bought a house at top of the market a year ago, your interest rates are going up, your value's going backwards, and someone builds a screen next to you where your son comes in, what happens to the value of your home? This is going to happen across the board, not just in Auckland. What do you got there? Well, you've got a decreasing value. You've got a house that's no longer as attractive or warm or sunny, and a mortgage that stays the same or goes up because of the because interest rates. What are you left with there? That's a disaster looming, and this is going to happen in February. When all the fixed rates come off, what do we live with? Negative equity? Or what's the space,
This issue is very top of mind for you because you're selling your own house at the moment. If a developer offered you the big bucks, would you say yes?
I wouldn't. How would you know it's a developer? You just get an offer, don't you? I have to sell. I'm in the market to sell. I know I'll bet on it myself. I might buy this back as well. And if a developer offered me big money, you'd take it. You move on. I don't want it to turn into 5 or 4 townhouses, but it's out of my control then. I'd have to be able to hang on to it. But this is a place that could have 4 townhouses on it within a year, at $1.5 million each. You buy the place for $2 million. You put you sell 5 houses at 1.5 each. You've suddenly got yourself $7.5 million worth of houses on there, and you paid $2 million for it. What's your profit? Well, you do a value on your build, and you've probably made $2 million. I wish I was able to do that. I just don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Duncan, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. No problems.